Hi everyone, welcome to my sharing session today on rubber stamps. So I know there are a lot of questions out there ever since I shared an Insta story on my latest haul from 100 Proof Press. This is one of the stamp, and I talked about, different tips on how to pick the right stamp for you, a good quality stamp, the pros and cons on different materials. So I thought it'd be easier to kind of shoot a video covering as much as possible, especially for those of you who are new to stamping. Alright, so first off, let's talk about the different types of stamps. The most popular, I would suppose, is wooden block rubber stamps. These are the more traditional ones, and I'm sure you've all seen some form of it. The material at the back, whether it's white or red, as far as I know, is that red is vulcanized rubber, which is basically a process of hardening the rubber. And this, I'm not sure what the material is, but it's not vulcanized. I believe it's like a mixture of materials that feels a bit rubbery and plasticky, but it's not like 100% rubber. Still a bit soft. We have also silicone stamps. This is how I store them. So there are some pros and cons, which I will go through in a bit, but I just wanted to show you the example of a completely see-through silicone stamp. So if you can see it here, you can see that it's just a plastic or like a rubbery soft sheet. And basically how these are used is with acrylic blocks. So what you do is remove the plastic, the polymer, what you call this, silicone, and attach it to a acrylic block like this. This is a typical one. Usually it comes with lines to help you to, centralize it and kind of make sure that everything is in the right space. You also have smaller blocks like this, or blocks without lines or grids. The good thing about this kind of acrylic blocks is that when you press it down on a surface, you can actually see where it is in your journal spread. So if you have a lot of things going on and you kind of want to work around it, this is really handy because you can basically see through the transparent block, right? There are pros and cons with this. There's so many things to go through, guys. I'm a bit overwhelmed, but just bear with me. So the pro is that usually these are cheaper. It's easier to store. So imagine like there's so many designs in here, right? This whole folder. If I had all these designs, one in each block, can you imagine how much space it would take? It would take an insane amount of space, and it already has overtaken some of my drawers. So the good thing is that it's space saving. On the downside, if you get the cheaper ones, because there are high quality silicone stamps as well, and there are low quality ones. So the high quality ones in general are a lot thicker, and you can see the depth. Okay, you can see that there's a lot of details. And if you use like a cheaper version, which I do not have here in my collection, what happens is that it would break. Okay, let me see if I can show you an example. Okay, so I literally went into the trash to pick this up just to show you. I threw this out yesterday because I went through like a massive spring clean. But basically, let's see if I tear this out. Look how easily it breaks into pieces, and this is because silicone will disintegrate over time. Alright, and if it's like really thin like this, it will break a lot easier. For example, the one that I showed you here, these are better quality. It's a lot thicker, so it won't break. It won't break as easily. It will over time though, but it will last a lot longer. So if you opt for silicone stamps, make sure that you get a thicker one. So even with rubber stamps, aside from just the vulcanized or a different type of more modern non-vulcanized rubber material, there's also different forms of it. Rubber stamps like these, that's already mounted at the back of a wooden block, or you can get ones like these. So this is a little stamp store storage, and basically it's like a binder with like plastic sheets inside that you can stick your stamps onto. So these are like the foam backing, and it already has like a kind of sticky property that will attach itself to non-porous surfaces. So this are examples of vulcanized rubber stamps with foam backing. Okay, again, this would be a lot cheaper than if you were to buy the wooden blocks, and also again space saving. And then there is another option, which is non-foam backed rubber stamps, and these are the cheapest vulcanized rubber stamps that you can get out there. And basically it just comes in like a sheet like this. Usually it's not cut, but I've cut out a piece just to give you an example, right? So you look at that. Now, one of the things that you have to look out for when you buy a rubber stamp is the corners. Don't get one, try not to get something with rubber corners here, because what happens is that the ink pad will touch the corner if there's not enough depth, and when you press it down, it will make corner marks, which is like really fugly. Okay, so we want to avoid that. So basically with this, usually what you do is cut around the rubber stamp so that you get the full shape without getting pesky corners. I hope you can see. Oh my gosh, I might have gone out of frame, but yeah, just cut around the corner and you get this. All right, so when it comes to these, let me try to get a bigger piece so that you can see. So there are a few ways to use this, right? One is using like a glue. You can use the Tombow Mono Liquid Glue, or you can use this tack it over and over glue. And basically what you use it for is to create like an adhesive back, just a little bit of it. Use a brush to kind of spread it around, okay, and wait for it to turn transparent. So it's already transparent now, it's a bit dry, and what you'll do is stick it at the back of an acrylic block. This acrylic block is not the transparent one. This is actually from my store, but I haven't launched it yet. I'm just going to show you as an example. So it attaches behind, and you see how it doesn't fall at all. It's pretty sticky now. And the great thing with this is that it's reusable. So you don't have to wash the rubber stamp, because you can just peel it off and use it again until it kind of gets less sticky and it needs more adhesive. Then you just reapply. Easy peasy. As for the acrylic block, you'll have to clean it. Otherwise it'll be sticky, but even then you don't have to clean it all the time. And once you've had the adhesive back, you can then stick it onto a non-porous surface like this, and it will still be reusable. See? So now it's in storage. So there you have it, with using it with like the glue and acrylic block. But you can also go another step, which is another option, to use these easy mount rubber foam stamps. And basically what you do is you cut around it to the shape of your rubber stamp, and you kind of turn it into this format. right? Where you can just stick it on, stick it off, clean your stamps, store it. You don't have to put this glue that I spoke of just now. You don't have to put tack it. What a cute name. Tack it over and over, yeah. What you do is just maximize the sheet by making sure that you cover the area but you have not much wastage. Make sure you have a really hardy pair of scissors, and then proceed to cut around it. You need a sharp pair of scissors for this, and because of the glue, it's going to ruin your scissors, so please don't use your delicate fancy swan designs. Use a hardy one like this. This is from Kokuyo, so it's still sticking out a little bit. I want to make sure that it's perfect. Cut away the edges. And then just remove the backing here. And there you have it. You're gonna have your own, very own acrylic foam backing rubber stamp. So this is the more economical way, and if you shop online, it's also the cheapest way because it's so light compared to wooden blocks. Otherwise, you know, your shipping fees will just shoot off the roof, and you want to save more money to buy other beautiful stationeries, right? So these are other vulcanized stamps as well, rubber stamps without foam backing, which I will cut it into shape with my other easy mount sheets. This is a really old one. You can tell that it's been used like heaps. It's dirty, it hasn't been cleaned very often, so you can see all the dirt and the stamp ink pad all over the place, but it has stood the test of time. So this is why I love vulcanized rubber stamps, the red stamps, which I call it, because it's just, the detail is so much better and the laser cutting is very sharp. You get crispy details, as opposed to some silicone stamps out there. It's just not as sharp. So if you're like me and you like really detailed prints, please opt for red rubber stamps, or at least really good quality silicone polymer stamps, okay? This is like a four-sided rubber stamp that I got from Blade Rubber Stamps in London. The brand is Judykins. I will mention all of their handles below so you can shop after this. But this is really handy because it's quite space saving if you like rubber stamps. Rubber stamps with, wooden backing. So the wooden backing has its plus points as well, because sometimes you just need that extra weight to press down, you know, and most of the time it does come with the foam backing already. So it gives that soft, bouncy kind of press that you need to make sure that you get all the prints and details, the dots and lines and shading, you know. Next step is to actually show you the stamping process. So I'm just going to move things around now. Alright, so now let's get on to the different kind of stamps out there. Okay, so these are the stamps that I have, and first of all, you'll see that they come in different shapes, sizes, colors. There's even one that glitters, so it really depends what you're looking for. My favorite is Versafine or Versafine Vintage Sepia. I just find that it lasts a long time, it doesn't dry out fast, and the color is just top-notch. I love it. Then you have Versafine Clair, really nice as well, but I still prefer this form of I don't know what it is that is so different between the both of them. Maybe it's the sponge, maybe it's the chemical, the color, I don't know, but vintage sepia is awesome. Then you have this other brand called Shachihata. This other Japanese brand. It's nice, but there's a design flaw here. I love all their shadings and their colors, but you see how this Versafine stamp sticks out a little bit more, and this is kind of flat actually. So this makes a big difference because, let me give you an example. Let's say I use this, all right? And now I use this. When I press down on this, it touches the edge. And that's like not ideal, because then you get ink on your fingers, you know, and sometimes it misses, like, just because it's too flat, you can't really tell whether it's even as well. So I'm not sure whether that makes sense. But yeah, it's not a deal breaker. It's just my own personal preference. I like a little bit more sponge away from the edge of the shell, the cover, so that I can really stamp the corners, and you know, I can really get in there. Can you see the corner here? I can make sure that I kind of cover all my bases. Nonetheless, this is still a great little stamp ink pad. It's also a lot smaller. Shahitas, like this Shahita, I travel a lot with it because of the compactness. What I don't get though is why these stamps don't have like a lock. So when you travel with it, especially if it opens up, can you imagine if it gets all over your stationery and your journal? You don't want that. So what I do is, when I travel, I put like a washi tape around just to keep it closed. StarZone is great, but it's permanent, right? It will stick on wood, on plastic, on fabric. So if you want something like permanent, you should use this, and it comes in many different variants. I have this in black and white, but there's a lot of other colors. Then there is this as well, a smaller version of the StarZone. And as I said, there is, if you like things glittery, let's try it out. You can kind of like overlay. It's very light, but yeah, it's there. You see it? So yeah, these are the different stamps, and there's so many more out there, but these are the ones that I personally use and like. If you're going to use a permanent StarZone ink on your journal, I wouldn't recommend it, because it's a lot stronger and thicker, and it might create unwanted shadowing on the back of your page. This, however, is really good if you stamp on, let's say, onion paper, vellum paper, and you don't want the ink to smudge. This StarZone ink would be it. Okay, so the different inks have specific uses for it, but if you're not one for rules and you like to experiment, then go ahead. All right, cool. So now let's have some fun and stamp this page away with all the different stamps that is on my table right now. Now that we have a little bit more time, I want to show you some extra special stamps from Le Tampographe, Le Sadon. Oh my gosh, I can't even pronounce it, but I will put it in the caption. And these are what we call 2D stamps. So basically it's like multiple shading, and I am going to demonstrate how it's used. Basically each of it comes with 2 stamps and it's numbered, so you know which goes first according to the color as well. The ink pads are sold separately, but it's quite reasonably priced. So let's start with the heart first. So first is the red. So what we do is just stamp the red, make sure that it's properly covered. The tricky thing with this though is that you have to be perfectly aligned when you stamp it. So this is number 1. Okay. This is where it gets a little bit tricky. Press down at the exact same spot, otherwise it doesn't look nice. That's like what we call like a 2D stamp. It's back in the days how they used to print like comic books and stuff, so they play with a lot of pixels and layering of colors so that you can get a CMYK kind of look and effect. Alright, so this is the bonus. Now we get to the less fun part of cleaning our stamps. Alright, so this is what I personally use to clean my stamps. These are non-alcoholic wipes. You can get an equivalent in a different brand, I'm sure, but what I like about this is that I can remove from this little packet. It kind of seals it so that it doesn't lose the moisture, which is great for traveling. So typically what I'll do is just wipe it right off like this and kind of let it dry for a while before storing it away. And it's quite easy to kind of just wipe off the ink. So that's it guys, everything from the different kind of stamps, different methods of stamping, different styles, different materials. I really hope that I managed to share enough tips, especially with like all the other kind of accessories, the glue, the acrylic blocks, ink pads and things like that. It's a whole big world out there when it comes to stamping, so I'm sure there is a lot more to learn, and I hope you can comment in the section below so that we can all learn from each other. Okay, take care, bye, and have a good weekend. Ciao!